Welcome to News Beacon, your trusted source for breaking headlines, global insights, and sharp analysis from around the world. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. The White House press room buzzed with tension. The air was thick with anticipation, as if everyone sensed that something historic was about to unfold. Reporters whispered, glancing at their phones, waiting for the moment that would define the day. It was a Tuesday, when the world always seems to change. The city outside was waking up, but inside the White House the day was already electric. Headlines were being written in real time, and the world's attention was fixed on Washington. President Trump, in his second term, stepped up to the podium, eyes steely. His presence commanded the room, and even the most seasoned journalists sat up straighter, pens poised. The weight of his words was felt before he even spoke. "We've been very clear," he began. "The games are over." His voice was unwavering, echoing off the marble walls. There was no room for doubt. This was a declaration, not a negotiation. Effective immediately, we are preparing to impose a 100% tariff on all goods from the BRICS nations. The room gasped. The words hung in the air, heavy and irreversible. For a moment, time seemed to stop. Reporters scrambled to file the story that would dominate headlines. Fingers flew across keyboards, phones rang off the hook, and editors barked orders. The world's media machine roared to life, knowing this was the scoop of the year. In Beijing, a midnight emergency meeting was called. Top officials gathered in hushed urgency, faces illuminated by the glow of screens. The news had traveled fast, and the stakes were enormous. In Rio, President Lula muttered, "The world has changed." His advisors exchanged worried glances, realizing that the global order they knew was shifting beneath their feet. The announcement wasn't just policy, it was a gauntlet thrown on the world stage. Markets reacted instantly, as if jolted by an electric current. Traders shouted, phones rang, and world leaders scrambled to respond. Dow futures nosedived, Shanghai shuddered, and currency traders braced for chaos. Billions of dollars shifted in seconds, and uncertainty rippled through every financial center on the planet. The audacity of a 100% tariff stunned everyone. Analysts struggled to process the implications, while business leaders stared at screens in disbelief, calculating the cost of this new reality. It wasn't negotiation, it was a sledgehammer. The message was clear. Compromise was off the table, and the rules had changed overnight. A Chinese smartphone that cost $500 would now cost $1,000 before leaving the port. The ripple effect would be felt by every consumer, every retailer, and every manufacturer tied to global supply chains. Brazilian coffee, double the price. Everyday luxuries would become rare treats, and the cost of living was about to spike for millions. The message, do business with BRICS and you'll pay dearly. Every shipment, every contract, every handshake now came with a warning label. The president framed it as protecting American interests. America First was no longer just a slogan, it was policy, enforced with the stroke of a pen. But to many it looked like economic self-sabotage. Economists warned of retaliation, business leaders feared layoffs, and protesters took to the streets chanting for cooler heads to prevail. The world was officially on notice. Allies and rivals alike scrambled to reassess alliances, trade deals, and the very future of globalization. This wasn't just another trade spat, it was the opening shot in a new kind of economic war. The old rules no longer applied, and the consequences would be felt far beyond the trading floor. Across continents, reactions ranged from disbelief to defiance. Some called for unity, others for retaliation, and everywhere, uncertainty reigned. The foundations of global trade had just been set on fire. The world was watching, and no one knew what would come next. Let's pause. What is BRICS? It sounds like a hardware store, but it's a global power block. BRICS stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Big, fast-growing economies tired of Western dominance. They built their own institutions, like a development bank, to rival the World Bank and IMF. Recently, BRICS expanded, adding Saudi Arabia, UAE, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, and Indonesia. Now, BRICS Plus represents nearly 40% of global GDP and almost half the world's population. This expansion turned BRICS from a curiosity into a genuine counterweight to US and European influence. They control vast manufacturing, energy, and resources. When BRICS talks about trading in their own currencies, it's a credible threat to the dollar's dominance. That's the nerve the tariff threat was meant to hit. The world's economic balance just shifted. This crisis didn't appear overnight. It's the result of years of mounting tension, economic posturing, and political brinkmanship. The warning signs were there for anyone willing to look. Volatile markets, nervous investors, and a growing sense of unease in boardrooms around the world. It's been simmering since Trump's re-election, when campaign rhetoric about America First took on a sharper, more aggressive edge. The crowds cheered, but behind the scenes, global leaders started to worry. Early on, he floated a 100% tariff on BRICS if they ditched the dollar. At first it sounded like campaign bluster, a negotiating tactic meant to rattle rivals. But the world's financial system is built on trust, and even rumors can shake its foundations. By February 2025, the threat became official policy. The administration declared, if any trading gets through, it'll be 100% tariff at least. Suddenly, what seemed like political theater was now the law of the land. The message was clear and unmistakable. Cross the dollar, pay the price. The world's largest economy was drawing a line in the sand. In April, the administration announced a baseline 10% tariff on most imports, sending shockwaves through global supply chains. Companies scrambled to recalculate costs, and exporters braced for impact. Plus, another 10% for countries supporting BRICS policies. The penalties stacked up quickly, making it clear that neutrality was no longer an option. The goal was simple, but ruthless: force nations to pick a side. Stick with the dollar and maintain access to the world's biggest market, or face steep consequences and economic isolation. The deadline was set: August 1st, 2025. Commerce Secretary Lutnick confirmed it in a tense press conference, as reporters pressed for details and allies scrambled for exemptions. Some flexibility was offered for separate deals, but the clock was ticking. Every negotiation felt like a race against time, with billions of dollars and millions of jobs on the line. This was no longer a drill. The world's economies were bracing for impact, and the sense of urgency was palpable. The world was counting down to a trade cataclysm. Every day brought new headlines, new fears, and new calculations for governments and businesses alike. All because a group of nations dared to imagine a world not run on the greenback. The challenge to the dollar's dominance had become a global standoff. The stakes had never been higher. The countdown had begun, and the world was holding its breath, waiting to see who would blink first. Why the drama? One word: the dollar. For decades, the US dollar has been the world's reserve currency, giving America immense power. The US can borrow cheaply and punish rivals with sanctions. BRICS, especially China and Russia, are tired of this. Russia wants survival after sanctions, China wants global influence. So BRICS is building a parallel system, trading in their own currencies, bypassing the dollar. This de-dollarization is a red flag for US policymakers. The Trump administration sees it as a direct attack on American power. The tariff threat is a preemptive strike: weaken the dollar, and we'll crush your economies with our market. It's a high-stakes game of economic chicken. The goal: make de-dollarization too costly to pursue. What does this mean for you? Prices go up, fast. Suddenly, everyday shopping trips become a lot more stressful. You might notice your weekly grocery bill creeping higher, or that the latest gadgets and toys are now out of reach for many families. Even basic clothing starts to feel like a luxury. A 100% tariff on Chinese goods means electronics, toys, and clothes could double in price overnight. That iPhone? Forget it. The cost of upgrading your phone or buying a birthday gift for your child could be twice what it was last year. Shelves might even sit empty as stores struggle to keep up with the new costs. Even goods from BRICS partners like Vietnamese sneakers get hit with extra costs that snowball through the supply chain. Companies try to find new suppliers, but those alternatives are often more expensive, and the added costs get passed on to you. Suddenly, $80 sneakers cost $95. And it's not just shoes. Sports gear, backpacks, and even school supplies all see price hikes. For families on a budget, these increases add up quickly. It's not just consumers. American farmers get hurt too. When other countries retaliate, US exports take a hit, and farmers are left searching for buyers. China, once a top buyer of US soybeans, retaliates by buying from Brazil instead. This shift happens fast, and American farmers lose a crucial market almost overnight. US farmers are left with unsold crops and shrinking incomes. Many struggle to pay their bills, and some even face the risk of losing their farms. The tariffs act like a giant tax, making everyone poorer. It's money out of your pocket, whether you're shopping for groceries or trying to keep a small business afloat. Economic models predict the US economy would shrink by hundreds of billions, with inflation soaring. That means fewer jobs, lower wages, and a tougher time for families everywhere. BRICS nations suffer too. Higher prices, fewer jobs, shrinking economies. Factories close, workers lose their livelihoods, and communities struggle to recover. It's a lose-lose scenario. The pain is real, from the checkout line to the farm. No one is immune, and the effects ripple through every part of society, all for a geopolitical struggle that feels far from everyday life. But in the end, everyone pays the price, at the store, at work, and at home. The US expected BRICS to back down. Instead, leaders fired back. Brazil's President Lula declared, "The world has changed. We don't want an emperor." China called the tariffs coercion, warning that trade wars have no winners. Beijing signaled it would retaliate, confident it could outlast the US in a drawn-out fight. Russia denied BRICS was anti-American, framing the US as the aggressor. South Africa tried to stay neutral, but the pressure was immense. Collectively, BRICS painted the US as clinging to outdated dominance. Their message: we won't be intimidated. The era of unquestioned American economic power was over. So, what's a tariff? Simple. It's a tax on imports. The goal is to make foreign goods more expensive, protecting domestic industries or punishing rivals. But a 100% tariff isn't about protection. It's about cutting off trade entirely. It doubles the cost of imports, making them uncompetitive. The real targets sever economic ties and inflict pain. American businesses relying on BRICS goods face shattered supply chains and soaring costs. A 100% tariff is a chainsaw, not a scalpel. The collateral damage is massive. The myth: you can win a trade war. The reality: everyone loses. Tariffs trigger retaliation. US consumers pay more for imports. BRICS consumers pay more for US goods. Exporters on both sides lose markets. Jobs disappear. Economic models show US GDP drops, inflation rises, BRICS economies shrink too. China, heavily reliant on US markets, takes a big hit. It's mutually assured economic destruction. Supply chains break, prices rise, and jobs vanish. The supposed benefits are wiped out by the broader damage. The world becomes poorer, less efficient, and more divided. In a trade war, there are only losers. So, what now? Experts agree, these tariffs would be devastating if enacted. Some think it's a negotiating tactic, the madman theory, to force BRICS into deals. Others fear the rhetoric is too heated for anyone to back down. If the tariffs hit, expect immediate retaliation, broken supply chains, and a new era of economic fragmentation. Why should you care? Because your groceries, your job, your daily life, all are on the line. This isn't just about trade. It's about the world we'll live in for decades. Will we cooperate or wall ourselves off behind tariffs? The stakes couldn't be higher, and we're all in the front row.